welcome everybody. Thanks for being here tonight. Board members, make sure your mics are on so everyone can hear you loud and clear. Our attendance tonight for roll call, everyone is present. And then we have the agenda before us. Any additions or deletions? If not, it's approved as before you. And tonight we're happy to have Advanced Disposal with us, and we've asked them to have a small presentation of here at the meeting tonight.
It is small.
All right.
I just realized when I looked at it, I'm number 4, and I thought it was way, way, way down. So
No, you're right at the top.
Appreciate it. Hello, everyone. How would you like me to approach and talk to them?
You can stand here or stand to the side, or if you want to show, I can bring up an easel if you want that.
Yeah, I have Anna right here. Should be
Yeah, there. We'll have Tom hold the sign.
Well, let me, and I apologize for my professionalism. Let me introduce myself to the board, and also Tom. I'm Dave Rittel. I used to be the general manager of the Arbor Hills landfill for a good 12 years, and now the regional manager for Advanced Disposal, East Region manager. Tom Flanagan is the general manager of the Arbor Hills landfill. He took my position. Doing an excellent job. I think some of you have met Tom and worked with him the last couple of years.
Nobody can take Dave's point.
Yeah.
Tom, what was your last name?
Flanagan.
Flanagan.
So the reason why we are in front of you tonight, and I appreciate it very much putting me on the agenda, thank you, is to discuss the solid waste plan of Washtenaw County. We are looking, if you're not aware of it or not, counties have solid waste plans that they must submit to the state of Michigan to be approved per the regulations. And they were supposed to be updated every 5 years. Washtenaw County hasn't updated their solid waste plan in approximately 10 to 15 years. So we had approached them to, and I'll talk about what we're approaching with them. But basically what happened is we approached them to add more property into the solid waste plan. A landfill cannot expand or do anything unless it's in the county solid waste plan. So we thought it was a good idea to look at getting property into the plan now, because we have approximately 10 to 15 years of life left in the landfill at current volume. So that could change, that could fluctuate. But we have about 10 to 15 years of life in the landfill. They were talking about updating their plan. We thought it would be a good idea for us to update what we would like to put in the plan. So they're opening up the plan. Washtenaw County is opening up their plan. They're going to go for a full revision. And in that revision, what we would like to do is ask for some property to be put into the plan. Before everybody says we're expanding, I have to point out that landfill expansion is a very long and public process. This is, if you want to even say it, this is the first step to even considering being able to expand. So let me also say that very quickly. However, you need to be consistent with the solid waste plan. You're opening up the plan. I would like to present to the board at least what we are looking to put into the plan. But that also involves working with the township to get this property into the plan, and obviously discussions about potential landfill expansions in the future. Hopefully I made this clear as mud. That's why I'm here to present at least what we're looking to put into the plan, the property that we own, and also what you may own. So if Tom can show you what the property that we're talking about is north of the landfill now, on the north side of 6 Mile Road. So the best way to say this would be, This is the power transmission line. We'll show a picture of it as well. Thank you. I'll do the board and I'll turn to everyone here. Once again, my great PowerPoint presentation. Here's Napier Road. Here's 6 Mile Road. What we're looking to include in the plan, if everybody can see me, and I apologize, is up to the boundaries of which we own the property to and down. It's approximately 240 acres north of the landfill. Now give me a second, I'm going to flip this. I should have done both sides, so I apologize. Once again, the landfill currently is located right here. The property we're looking to put it into the plan would start in the corner of Napier and 6 Mile Road, go down Napier Road to the property that we own, come across to the power transmission lines and down. This is the property we're looking to put in the solid waste, we're requesting potentially put in the solid waste plan. Any questions about the property? Because there's a caveat to that property. I want to make sure that you guys understand that this property here that I'm looking at is located on the west side, so here's the ITC lines. There was a farmhouse located there, a white farmhouse. This property here will be deeded. It has not been deeded, but is basically Salem Township's property per the host community agreement in 2009, when we got the last amendment and expansion to the Army Hills landfill. So all technical terms, I would say this is your property as well. What I'm requesting, and I'd like to have a conversation with Salem Township, or however you ever want to, whoever you want me to work with, is to include this property in the discussions with Washington County to be part of the solid waste plan. Once again, we may not be able to put a landfill on that. We may not be able to put a landfill on any of this. There is a lot of engineering. There's a lot of technical terms. And I apologize. Let me take a step back. The property I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen, is located. Is the west side of the property. This is Salem Township's property per the host community agreement.
How far does it go that way?
Sue, I'm sorry, I don't have the exact dimensions to it. It's approximately, my guess is 200 yards. It's 80 acres.
80 acres, but is that the dotted line right there? On the
Yes,
plan?
this
Okay.
here, this location here.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
There is a high-pressure gas line going through the middle of the ADS-owned property as well. There are wetlands located throughout this property. There's a whole hydrogeological investigation that needs to be done to be even consider it being a landfill property, or be able to build a landfill. There's a lot of ifs and what's and done. But what I'm approaching the board to say is, what we're asking is to get this property in the plan now, so that if in the future it can be, we go that direction, we do not have to go to the county already has it in their plan. Did I miss anything? Oh, and then you got the picture, better picture.
I've been drawing back here while you were.
Once again, he comes in a better plan. I do understand and I do respect that this is gonna ask a lot more questions and, as the days go on and such. And that's why I want these presented to you, the board, and see if there's some conversations we can start having concerning it.
Question, what's the timeline? What's your timeline?
Very good question. Washtenaw County has just voted last month to open up the plan. They're developing the committees and starting to get out RFPs out to consultants to determine how much money it's going to cost them to actually do the plan. They're anticipating 2 to 3 years before they finish the plan. There may be a point where, going back down to the question you asked me, we may want to get this into the plan within 1 to 2 years so that we can proceed in trying to figure out if it's feasible or not. Working with the township, because there are host community agreement issues that we need to get through, even if we even think about building a landfill here. So if we have 10 to 15 years of life left in a landfill, it's going to get eaten very quick based upon what we're trying to accomplish, at least understand from a business model standpoint. So to answer your question, I would like to get this into the solid waste plan within a year or two, especially if they start getting and pushing it out 2, 3, 4 years, if they start looking at more information that they want to get on recycling and other components to their plant, they're going to go for a full understanding and surveys and such to understand what the solid waste programs in Washington County are. Not even landfills, composting, recycling, and all kinds of other interesting things that they can come up with.
Do you know how many other landfills there are in our county?
There are one, and that is us. Yeah. And my assumption is they would like to keep it that way, because we're obviously on the edge of the county, and there's one in place.
What type of life would the addition give you?
I don't know. I have a feeling it could give, I'm hoping it would give us 20 years of life. The boundaries and the setbacks may push it to like a 15 more additional years. It could go back up to 30, but it all depends on the incoming volume that comes in as well. So my assumption, my hopes would be to last as long as it has lasted, Argos West has lasted this long. So we're in year, it's open, Argos West opened in 1992.
Dave, how many acres is it now?
337. Argos West and East combined. It's 227 acres per acre.
Your volume that you have seen over the years, has it been rapidly increasing, or has it, how does the volume go?
Since I've been kicked out as general manager, the volume has increased a lot. According to Tom, no, it has increased. We have last year was our most successful year, and one of the reasons why we've been successful with advanced disposal versus the other companies is that we've been aggressive purchasing other companies. We recently purchased Hornback and then Rose, but we also received the City of Detroit contract. But also, the City of Detroit's been tearing down a lot of buildings as well, so that curve of getting more busy could come back down very quickly as funds dry up in the City of Detroit and such as that. And that's why we're going more into the municipal market moving forward. So, the longer answer also is that wastes could also decrease more due to recycling based on where they're from the state.
If a landfill were approved and from an engineering standpoint it comes to pass, would you completely close the south operation before you opened up the north side, or would they both be running simultaneously perhaps?
My assumption is that they would be running simultaneously for a little bit because you need to close out the the south while you're building the north, and you need facilities to get through. We're going to start quote unquote closing Argos West within 5 years. Like let's say as we're now mostly on the north side, and I'm sorry I'm not talking to you guys. I'm not very good at public speaking sometimes. We're filling now to the north, correct? The south side is basically almost filled, so we're going to start closing the south and move to the north as we progress and finish more of the north area. So we're going to be closing as we go, but if we were able to get both, we would have to keep the south, I used to say south, the south open for a while we're developing the north. There's a lot of questions in my head, a lot of changes and things like that that need to be figured out, even if we get to that point.
Any other questions?
The compost is currently in that site, right?
Right.
What will happen?
That's a great question. Yeah, I don't have an answer right now. Yeah, there's we could be developing another compost facility somewhere else, maybe not even Salem Township, somewhere else that would be centrally located.
Excuse me, how far north of 6 now is this property you're talking about, Bill? Half
That doesn't show.
No, it does cut it off, but the back of the compost yard that you can see from the highway, and we're basically in another
This is
couple
200
hundred feet.
This is 200 feet approximately. So we're talking about 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 1,400 feet approximately, maybe 15. I mean, it's, so you're good, half, or a quarter mile.
Are you gonna expand, once this is approved, of, you know, kind of stuff in Canada, or do you have to petition Lansing to get that paid to have trash brought back over here across the rivers to this landfill?
As we currently stand right now, we can still accept the Canadian waste.
Are you getting,
We are not getting Canadian waste. That, at this particular moment, no. We are taking everything what we, you know, as we can. I can't sit up here and look at you and say, we're not gonna take it. Now, that may be negotiated later on, maybe for that purpose, but, you know, it's part of the business model that we've been doing. It went up, now it's down, and they look like they've dealt with it, quite frankly. They've built incinerators and they built landfills to take it. They're still taking waste to some other facilities in Macomb, but in general, that market is not and multiple companies I've worked for, been going for it because it's done. But we're more successful here doing what we're doing. Yeah.
The existing landfill started out as a stone quarry, didn't it?
Yes.
Okay, would that be applicable at the north side of this new landfill that you're proposing?
He, at least it appears, on one side, he got most of it. My very good English. He exhumed most of the gravel on the one side. The property, we know the property that it's going to be deeded over to has a good layer of stone and stuff, but we need, and one of the reasons why, if you look at post-community agreement, we needed that soil to close the landfill. That's why if you look at the host community agreement, we put more of a pond that we could go in there and use that soil and finish it such that it would be a park or something like that, because we need that soil from that area to close the existing land. So,
Answers my question?
yes, sir.
I have some area questions. The site is 280 acres that you're speaking of on the north. 240. And that includes the 80 acres that Salem owns?
It's currently owned by ADS, but it's supposed to be deed over. Quick answer is yes. 80 acres is owned by Salem.
That's supposed to be like a recreation area, we're supposed to get the end.
Correct.
Okay. And then the entire area of the existing dump from Napier and 6 Mile going south to, I believe, somewhere right around the railroad tracks.
Correct.
And then over to the ITC lines. How large is that?
337 acres.
Okay, so both of those west and east, whatever arbor,
Mhm.
are combined at 330.
Yep.
So that development would be about a third less of the size as this property.
Kind of. And I say kind of because of, and that's the unknowns. The setback distances are different now than when east and west were both built. So the setback distances are now more restrictive, meaning you have a smaller footprint now, even if I wanted to go to our boundaries. There could be potential other issues that would drive it in farther. People's wells located on the other side of Napier Road to the other side of ITC and behind. So wells may dictate it may be smaller even than that. There's a lot of questions that have to be answered still.
Well, when Holloway started that, I think it was 74 or 75.
68.
68. But when did they start bringing in garbage?
I thought it was 68.
68. So we could expect to have it much longer than 10 to 15 years.
Well, once again, there's a lot more that, yes, it depends on how much volume comes in. I mean, if we lose our volumes down to 2,000 tons a day, and we're at, I'm making up a number now, 10,000 tons a day, you know, it can fluctuate.
Well, I support the landfill. I mean, I think it's a great cash cow for us, and it's all been real good as far as like taxes. And I did support it back when it
monitor the wells on Chubb Road then?
We would have a monitoring system similar to what we have now.
You would monitor my well, I'm on Chubb, you wouldn't.
I don't believe we need to, and I say this for a couple of reasons. One is, and we have to figure this, we gotta double check this, but we have to do a hydro job. We have to go in and check out where the groundwater and where it's flowing. Part of the things we gotta do for, I believe even for the Washtenaw County people. But even if we went to the state, we got the Washtenaw County, we got everybody's blessing, then we went to the state, we would have to do all that investigation to see if, which way the water's flowing. I'm
Supposedly
pretty
it
sure.
runs.
It runs
Right.
opposite from Chubb.
Yeah.
So, as an existing, what we're doing now for the people that live on Chubb, on the other side of Napier Road, we do not monitor their water wells, because the water is actually flowing away from them into us. But we also have monitoring wells right at our boundaries. From both, there's two aquifers, there's an upper aquifer and there's a lower one. And we monitor both, upgrading and downgrading to see if there's any contaminants. So before it even gets to you, it's gonna hit these wells as well. Just, I think it's going on, but the quick answer is I don't know.
I understand that you also own the land on the east side of Napier.
Correct.
Is that in any way going, even though it's in Wayne County, is that, are your plans to add that to a plan?
No, we do have no, that would be, because it's Wayne, it would have to be into their plan.
Right.
But, no, at this time, there's no thought process of expanding that way, into that town, into Northville Township or that property. We try to keep that high density, push that.
Any other questions?
Has the county reviewed any other parts of the county for landfill?
No, I mean, not since the original solid waste plan, I think in the 80s, and, you know, they were closing them before they were opening them. So, to my understanding right now, no. And will they with this new opening the plan? They might. Obviously, my hope would be that if we get this property in and we get some sort of plan with them, they wouldn't have to. But, no, at this time.
Is there gonna be a liner put in the?
My assumption, there will definitely be a liner. My assumption would be the same type of system we're doing now. The double composite two-liner systems, so the first one failed, if it ever did, which, by the way, since we put the first one in, that I actually put it in 1991, it hasn't failed. And then we have a second one underneath it, so if it did, we could know if it failed, and then if you had that protection underneath. So it would most likely be the same scenarios. Yes,
Contaminants that are in the landfill, in the event down the, does it increase the possibility that those will become free-born as time goes by?
the new landfills, the way they're designed, they're not just a pool of water sitting there. They're sloped, so it goes down to a low area, and we're lifting that water out before it can sit there for a long time in a liner system, and if there was a leak, it would go through. So we're getting the water out of these things. So the water's actually getting pumped out of them before it can become contaminated. It's going through it's contaminated water, leaching, but it's being pulled out. I think it's my competitors. It's being pulled out. So chances are that contamination is going out.
Would you plan on going down below, digging down like you did on the south side of the new addition? You went down.
Yeah, we would go that.
30 feet.
Once again, we got to do that investigation, the hydrogeological investigation, to even figure out how deep we can go. But my assumption is it's the same geology kind of going through, and yes, we'd go down into that clay layer, get out of the sand, go down to the clay, and then you have your lower aquifer, and you got to stay at least 7 feet above that lower aquifer. So it's basically the same design and everything that we're doing, which has been successful for the last 20 years.
Once this, if it's approved, and you start on the north side, 6 mile, what's your intentions on the south side?
That it will just be closed, and the amount of gas that we're pulling out of there, which the township is also getting royalties from, as it's going to continue for a very, very long time. So that has to be managed and closed for at least 30 years and managed that way. So my assumption, it would just be basically what we assumed it would be, a big power plant and money generator.
Well, at one time, years ago, they were thinking about closing it and turning it into a ski.
Yeah, and actually, we kind of squashed that in the last post-community agreement, because they have run into so many problems trying to do that. One, you don't have a stable foundation to put your ski lifts on, or your lifts, so you need that, and so we basically removed that. We were gonna make it to basically a power generation facility, and in the end of it, and let's say 30 to 50 years from now, yes, you could potentially do something with it as a park or something like that, but we kind of left it up to the people to make decisions instead of locking it into something that needs to be done. Heck, they may by that time have nice solar panels you can put on that thing and make a whole bunch of power money that way too. We have the grid right there.
Okay, anybody else? Thank you, gentlemen.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm sorry I probably made your meeting.
That's all right, that's all right. Okay, so we're down to public comment. Jim?
Yes, I ran into something I saw on TV and read in the newspapers. I think it's called Novolone. It's a medication sponsored, injected in a person who's suffering from a narcotics overdose, and it brings them back in a couple minutes from where they may be on death's door. And this was a police officer who was doing. It seems like to me that it should be one of the complementary activities that can be put in with our fire department. The other thing is, as I drove down here on next to Curry Road, the gas line was put in there. Whoever was putting that gas line in there has left a precipitous ditch right next to the road, about a foot and a half from the road. It just drops right off, straight to the deep hole there. No guardrails, no little cones or anything else. So somebody's gonna come along there and dump in that tonight.
You talking about the Curry Road?
Yeah.
At 7?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right at the railroad track.
Yeah, that was reported today, so that, I think the individual did it himself. That's what I'm hearing, so. We're talking about the railroad tracks?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It looked like he was filling in things the other day. I saw him taking dirt around and dumping it. But that was 2 days ago.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. All right, anybody else? Bud?
When I spoke to you last week about that blind spot on 7 Mile and Chubb Road, if you head from south on Chubb Road to 7 Mile, the grass is so high on the corner, you have to edge out on 7 Mile to see the oncoming cars coming from the east. Is there any way the township can maybe?
You didn't cut that yet?
No, I haven't cut it. I didn't cut it. You want me to cut it? I'll cut it.
Yeah.
Was there any way the township could maybe notify this person in the corner and say,
Yeah, is it the
Blue Farmhouse?
Blue Farmhouse?
Yeah, you can't see it on the corner.
Is it on the county side where they can cut it, or is it actually his property?
It's probably, actually both, I would say. It's right there on the easement and it goes up on his property. But like I said, you have to really edge around it somehow to get, to see. Somebody's gonna get hit.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, anyone else? Okay, just a couple comments. We had a great Flag Day. I know many of you were here. Many of you here tonight were volunteers, and we are so thankful for all the input of the companies that donate, individuals that donate, and then all the people that volunteer for so many years. I think it kind of was, I don't know if it was the longest parade, the biggest parade we've had. Also, the fireworks were phenomenal. There were just people all over, and it's really good listening to the people that come and are having family parties in here in the hamlet. You can see it all if you walk down here early, and it's a great thing. And I again just appreciate all the people that put so much hard work in it. That's been going on. Some have been in it for I think 25 years or plus, and are still volunteering and making that thing successful. I remember, growing up in Detroit, all the different activities we had in there, and then some of them kind of went away, and a lot of people just take it for granted. And again, it's the people, find people that help support this and volunteer that make this happen. So great job for all of you involved, and we're looking forward to next year. Also, a lot of you've heard about the eagle that was shot and stuff like that. I know they said now the reward is up to, I think $1,600. We haven't had a whole lot of more information about it, but a lot of people have been asking, and so if anybody has any information, come forward or contact the authorities, because we'd sure like to find out how that happened and who did it. All right, that's all my comments. Now down for consent agenda. We'll turn it to Mr. Winsley.
I move that Salem Township approve the following consent agenda items. The minutes of May 12th, 2015, regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. Also disbursements for May. The general fund, we had checks for $87,807.59. These were checks 25,358 through 25,427. We had checks out of the escrow fund for $4,997. These were checks 1595 through 1597. We had payroll of $53,022.50 with Paycor handling that for $186.21. Checks out of the sewer fund for $6,610.39. Checks 1948 through 1950. You'll see that we have invoices scheduled to be paid for June out of the general fund of $469,429.63. If you notice in the packet, over 300,000 of it, 335,000 is to Washtenaw County Road Commission. The sewer fund, we have invoices of $5,805.40, and the escrow fund, $5,386.50. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay, John Daniel seconds it. Any discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, down to business items. Most of you have read or heard about the new FOIA information. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about here. So I move that Salem Township Board of Trustees, acting pursuant to the authority of the MCL 15.236, designate Ann Alexander as the FOIA coordinator. She is authorized to designate other township staff to act on her behalf to accept and process written requests for the township's public records and approve denials. All appeals of denial of public record must be written appealed with the township supervisor. Have a second on this?
Second. Go ahead, TJ.
TJ? Any discussion? Mr. Trent?
Mr. Supervisor, would this appointment be effective immediately, or would it be in conjunction with the adoption of the following motion that's effective July 1st?
It would be effective with this next motion for July 1st.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. Okay, the next agenda on the item here is motion to approve the new amendments to the Freedom of Information Act, policies, guidelines, and forms. I move that Salem Township adopt the new amendments to the FOIA that will be effective July 1st, 2015. The new FOIA law also contains special requirements for information in the forms, as well as detailed itemization of costs and fees included in responding to the FOIA request. Got a second on that?
Second.
Mr. Winsley, seconds. Any other? A lot of information on that. If those of you would like information, be sure we provided for you the new guidelines. It's cheaper, so it's a good thing. So. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion's passed. Okay, now we're down to the fire department, Mr. Trent.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I move that Salem Township approve the bid from Argus Hasco for a 5-button X38 thermal imaging camera for a cost of $8,950. And they are the sole supplier distributor in the state of Michigan.
Do you have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to yield the floor to Fire Chief Rockwell to provide some further information and detail about this apparatus that he's seeking to have for the fire department.
Thank you, Mr. Kern. Basically, this is the device right here. It is a demo model. It's the latest device that Scott offers. What this allows us to do is go into a fire, which you virtually cannot see your hand in front of your face. And this allows us to see people that may be down or collapsed or where the fire is. So if you had a fire in your house and you say the electrical outlet was on fire, this sees temperature differences. So I could look at that wall and it would tell me if there was a fire inside the wall or not. So it helps us understand where the fire is. If you had a chimney fire, electrical fire, or if in fact we had somebody trapped and we could not see them because it's all black in the structure, instead of virtually hands and knees searching for the person, you would see this. This has a number of features that are existing one this would replace. Is about 10 plus years old. It's broken. We've called the manufacturer, which was MSA, and they no longer manufacture or can repair it. So this would be a replacement. This is something that I talked about in the budget to fund for this year. So it's kind of in our capital dollars, right? It is black and white that converts to color when you get a fire. So it's black and white in a non-fire condition because black and white gives you the highest resolution. And then if you get a fire, it goes into colors and it has a color bar. And I'm not sure if your brochure or what you guys got handed is in color, but it shows it to you in colors so you know where the different temperatures are at. And it allows you to take your hose string and hit the seat of the fire. So it goes, it's a tool in that way. You can also use it kind of in a unique way. If there's a person lost, this will, again, tell temperature differences. We've been able to find kids in woods and stuff like that. So as you step through woods, the heat trails leave behind, you can actually see that with thermal imager. It has a laser pointer on the front, so if you're pointing to some place and you want to say, this is where I want to look at, it has a number of features. It's 5-button. It can record video. It can take a still picture. It can look in the screen finder, and it has a crosshair, and it'll find the hottest spot within what you're looking at, or the coldest spot. So it's certainly an upgrade to our existing system. It's really an essential tool. We've been out without one. We've been borrowing the neighboring departments when we need to use it, and hopefully you'll approve this for replacement. I have talked to them. This has only been seen by one other department. It's 6 to 8 weeks to get it. They said they would give us, or sell us this one, which is virtually brand new. So we wouldn't have to wait 6 to 8 weeks for delivery from one. We've been playing with it for the last week and a half. We used the term Flag Day, and most notably the time we use it for there is when the fireworks go up. We want to make sure that none of the sparks catch any of the woods on fire. So again, this would be crucial. You can look in the woods and see if you have any fires that you would not be able to see with your naked eye. So it's a really good tool. I was hoping to kind of show up a video today, but I didn't get a chance. We just got off a pretty traumatic call, but unfortunately I didn't have the time to set the computer to do that. Is there any questions that the board members may have that I could answer for them?
I have a couple of questions. One, our current one that's not working, did it have all the same capabilities as the one you
No.
have here?
No, it was strictly a black and white. It's you know, as computers go, it's 10 to 15-year-old technology. So the leaps and bounds that you have today that we didn't have 15 years ago is, you know, remarkable for what this can do, for what the old one could do. It's basically just a camera, tell you differences in colors. It was kind of reverse. So hot objects would show up as white, and cool objects as dark. And the resolution is nowhere close to what this can do.
And I see there's 3 different models.
Mm-hmm.
What are the costs of the other models? And it looks like the only difference is the on-demand DVR and the image capture and freeze. Like, is that something we, need
So
enough that we're gonna spend, I don't know how much extra for it?
So actually, it's the middle of the road, it's not the high, the top of the one, the most expensive one that was listed is the $10,000 one, and that's for the NFPA compliant thermal imager. Instead of having the 5 buttons, they've narrowed it down to 3 buttons, which is easier to use with gloves. But I felt that trying this on and the features, it's easy enough that you don't need to pay the extra $1,000 or $2,000 for the 3-button model versus the 5-button model. And it's not the low end, it doesn't, like I said, it has the ability to take pictures and video, so it's kind of the middle of the road. It's not the very most expensive, but it's not the cheapest.
What would you use the video and the image capturing for? I mean, is it something that,
We use it for a couple of things, for training and arson investigation, for taking pictures, and also for insurance purposes down the line. So we've never had that capability before, and it's kind of good to take a picture and say, okay, this is what we saw when we went in here, this is what you need to look for. So there is a training that goes on with it. You just don't shoot it and learn to use it the first time. So it'd be a training tool as well as for arson or insurance documentation.
and how much is the base model?
I don't have the code in front of me. I think it's about $1,000 or $2,000 cheaper than the middle of the road. So it's about $1,000, $2,000 for the top model more. We're in the middle of the road. At 8,000, it's 10,000 something for the top model, and I think it's 6,000 for the basic model. We're 8,000. And I budgeted 15,000 in our capital for this, so we're well under the budget part.
Any other questions up here? Jim, any other questions?
I have a comment. I have a fireplace that's in the middle of my home, so I had walls all the way around it, and I had a chimney fire. I used the old camera, it came in, and to save them tearing up my walls to find me if there was a fire behind it. And I appreciated that. It was a real godsend in that instance. So there is a real practical use for that equipment, and it is being used.
Question for Jim. What's the max distance that can pick up heat?
So it depends how big the heat signature is. So it can do your whole house. It can see where your windows are leaking and stuff like that. For a smaller, like a dog or a cat, again, if you were to go, I was hoping to show the video because it does show you really a small fire and it stands out tremendously. So if this room was on fire and that fan was the source of it, you would see it. It would stick like a needle in a haystack. It would come and point right at you and say, that's where your fire is. So
What about metal buildings? Everybody has, a lot of people have lead metal sheds and cinder block sheds.
correct. So the only thing it won't see is it won't see through glass. It reflects it. So it's working off the infrared spectrum, electromagnetic. So it does, so if I were to look at that glass, I'd actually get a reflection over here, whoever's over here. So that's, again, one of the trainings that you have to kind of learn.
Okay. Any other questions?
All right. One quick question. One was answer the training for the use of it. The other one was location of it. Will it be stationed where if you get a call?
It'll actually be, this is not just the whole unit. It has a mounting device that would actually go in the engine and keep it fully charged. So it'd be on the truck
At all times?
at all times for a call.
Okay.
And ready to go. So you have a primary and a backup battery. Yeah.
With the addition of hopefully in the next couple of months, when we get, a few months, when we get the new unit, when we have multiple units going out, how are you gonna make sure that one or the other, you make sure you get this?
So our engine is always our primary fire attack, and so unless the engine's out of service, we would take it out of the engine and put it in the tanker. But the engine, as I'll talk to a little bit later tonight, the barn fire that we had, that was the primary truck that fed all the water, so all the hoses that we did the attacking. So we generally put it on the engine because that's always at the fires. And then the tankers tend to shovel water, so you kind of want to keep it there and grab it when you need it.
Okay. All right, Reggie seconds it. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Thank
All right. All right, moving on down, we have the clerk revenue expenditure report.
Just a couple comments. You see in your packet that I also included the revenue and expense report for the most tentative one for the end of the last fiscal year. And we also have, the auditors are here this week, so they had to clear their area out, but they'll be back again tomorrow and Thursday. So we will have our audit is still on schedule for August deadline, so we should have that all set up by then. So, but you can see the figures. So I concluded both this current period and the end of the year as well. And if you notice, you'll see that we had a lot more revenue than we anticipated for our fiscal year, which is always a positive. Just
Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
Thank you, Troy.
Okay. Thanks, Bill. Okay, so now down to the fire department, Jim.
Thank you. A couple things I wanted to cover. First of all, since I have the landfill folks here, I just want to thank you guys for allowing us to use that house for training. That was very effective. We did 11 sets in all the rooms before we burned the house down. We had our neighboring departments. We had Wayne County in there with Northville. We had Ann Arbor Township and ourselves. We were able to do a lot of good training, which helped out a lot. Which leads me into, if you don't know, we had a barn fire that we got toned out just recently off of Angle Road. By the time I was the first arriving unit, by the time I had gone there, the first barn was fully involved and it was moving on to the second barn. So I'm going to say a couple of things. First of all, it was loaded with horses and animals, goats and chickens, and the neighbors really jumped and helped. I think that's what we talked about Salem. The neighbors came over and helped get all the horses out of the barn before we got there, and I know they saved a lot of those horses' lives, because when we pulled up, literally that second barn was just catching fire, and I suspect there was probably a lot of hay and it was an old structure, so it was burning really hot. And then I also had what I want to say, one of the rookie firefighters, probably one that's been here less than 2 years. You know, it was so hot. We had him bunker up, put his SCBA, put his mask on, and he was still cooking, but he ran through the pen and the barn that was completely on fire and grabbed a couple of those goats to get them out of there. Now, they got burned and singed, but you know what? It made a difference, and they actually survived. And I was just over there yesterday, and they're very happy that, you know, the animals. Now, we lost a few chickens and stuff. We couldn't do much about it, but our neighboring departments of Ann Arbor Township, Lyon Township, South Lyon, if they hadn't come with the water, we would have lost the houses. And when we got there, the barns were a complete loss. There was nothing we could do because just by the time we got there, we were on fire. But being able to save the houses that are around it, and it's surrounded by houses, really speaks to how well our neighbors help support that, because all that water is going to come from our neighbors. We bring some, but to continue that operation. So if you see our neighboring departments, thank you for the support, and the neighbors really jumped in and helped out with that. The last thing, 2 more things I wanted to say. We had 42 calls. I don't know if it made it in the report for the month of May. Our response time was very good, 6.5 minutes. The other significant calls we had a motor vehicle accident just yesterday with a pin in. Car was laying on its side and the patient was pinned in. We had to extricate her out, and then we just got off a pretty traumatic call just before I got here with that 14-year-old got bit by a dog, and some pretty good bites in there. I think she'll be okay, but she was a real good trooper to deal with that, and that's pretty traumatic. So the last thing I had to say was the gentleman in the back, Bud, someone was asking about Narcan. Narcan is going to be mandated for all emergency responders to be carried, both police and fire, by October. So our protocols are in place to deliver Narcan. We may be delivering it in a needle-type form, so we'll have to get some training in it. But The only problem we have with Narcan is when someone comes out of that drug overdose, they come out swinging. They come out swinging, so you definitely want some PD down there, and you want to be prepared for that, because they're coming off their high, and they're not happy about it. So it is going to be mandated, so all police officers and our department included will be carrying that. They're just figuring out how they're going to get it to us and how we're going to administer it, so that's coming to us. The truck update, we're told the 15th of this month, the Ford pickup truck will be built. So I suspect it probably a week after it's built that we will have it. So probably the end of this month, early July, we should see that truck. And I haven't heard much more on the tanker other than it's progressing down the road. So that's all I have to report unless the board has any questions. And I thought the fireworks were awesome. I thought our guys did great. I thought everybody helped out. That was really good on the fireworks.
And by the way, that fire, some of us were out there watching folks fight this. It was impressive to see our men, the way they were working on this, on that barn fire. It's impressive to watch all the departments line up on Angle Road. If you could have seen it, just to see how they, we can give our fire department all kinds of stuff, but the one tool we can't give them is water. And to see all these other departments lined up just waiting to dump the water was impressive. All the neighbors were quite impressed, and just watching how it was organized, and they knew what they were doing, and it was a great job. So our hats are off to all you firefighters. Okay, Washtenaw County Law Enforcement's been submitted, and now we're down to board discussion. Our first is about advanced disposal as far as what's been presented to you tonight. Last month, you appointed the supervisor to be on the committee in Washtenaw County, and we have not heard back from them when some of them discussions will take place. What I would like to do and recommend some people to be on a committee in the township here in discussions with our landfill, and so I'd like to, I guess what I'd like to do is make a motion to appoint people to be on this committee. And I don't know, Dave, maybe you can tell me, is this something that's going to take place pretty soon, or are you kind of waiting for the direction of Washtenaw County to see?
No, I would like to start, there's a couple of things that I would like to present. I mentioned the hydrogeological study. I'd like to get that going, so I would like to start talking to the township about access to some of that property and understanding what I was going to do, just to keep it, open to what was going on. So, I would like to proceed with the township and our conversations starting in the 1st of July, and then set up a schedule so people know what's going on.
Okay. All right. So then, board members, I'd like to make a motion to appoint 4 people to this committee. One being our clerk, Del Wensley, Pam Burlow, who is our chairperson on our planning commission. Also one of our residents, Paul Canella. Paul sits right back here. I don't know if you know this man or not, but his wife, they're here tonight. And then also myself. So can we have a second on that? Second. Mr. Trent seconds. Any other discussion on this? One thing I'd like to say about Paul, and he's good, I hope I don't embarrass him tonight. Just a great family. How many years have you lived in Salem, Paul?
Since 72.
Since 72. But the one thing is that 61, did I have this right? I make sure. I used to brag around, I got 10 grandkids. This couple here has 61 grandchildren. So I kind of, what I've been thinking about with that many grandchildren, if you all get them to live in Salem, and all the parents and all the grandparents and everything, you could be the next supervisor in Salem County. Look at all the votes you win. So, but I appreciate Paul and his support of the town, and they're just a great family. You had 11 kids, I believe you have, and just a real nice family to get to know. And I just recently, in the last few years, got to know them, and they're just a great family. So I'm excited that he's been willing to be a part of this committee. So
Do we have a name? Is there a name for this committee? Just the
I'd say the advanced disposal.
Okay. That's separate from the committee that the county trash.
Trash committee? Is that what you said?
Yeah, where we come up with an acronym, you know, township, recycling.
Okay, so that's done. Any other comments we want to talk about tonight or bring up? I think one is the USD. Some of the latest updates on that. Ed, you might be able to, he's had another surgery this week, and he keeps having surgeries, and so a few people have given him a few kicks, and he's doing better. So
hopefully the pain medication is worn off. Yeah, briefly, I think we mentioned the last meeting, there wasn't a lot to report, but we have, since the last meeting, excuse me, we've met with bond counsel on a couple of occasions. We've met with a financial consultant, and we've also met with the major property owners in the USD. What has been our focus from the beginning is to make sure we proceed with the least financial risk to the township before going ahead with bringing public water and sewer into the USD. We're very well aware of the disaster that happened in Sylvan Township. We don't want anything like that. So that was the purpose of our getting together with bond counsel, this financial consultant, who's been involved in a lot of these financial arrangements and bond developments. And we have explored a number of different ways of financing it. The main thing we were looking at, of course, is having either Washtenaw County or Salem Township bonding for the money. It's approximately $20 million for the public water and sewer. It's about $10 million for the water and $10 million for the sewer. And we realized that the land values of the undeveloped property, if the bottom fell out of everything, we had to sell that property at a fire sale value. It maybe would bring in $5 million total, which obviously would not make up for the difference between the amount of the bond debt and that the township would end up paying. So there wouldn't be sufficient collateral there for that debt. So we talked about ways of obtaining financial enhancements from the property owners. We explored letters of credit for them for that additional $15 million or so. We talked about some sort of performance bonds. We talked about getting a reserve for payments over a number of years if the economy was depressed that would cover payments for the bonds, to have that money set aside. And we explored all those things with the financial consultant and bond counsel. And as we went through it in detail, the bottom line was that both the bond counsel and financial consultant recommended against doing anything of that nature, but it would still pose too much of a risk to the township. So we again met with the property owners. We explained all of that to them. They were naturally disappointed, but receptive and seemed to understand. So they are now going off and exploring other methods of obtaining financing to bring public water and public sewer into the USD. Again, we want to make sure we don't take any steps that would jeopardize the township resources and revenues. So basically it's in the landowners and developers' hands now. They're exploring ways of whether they get grant money, private financing, however they're going to do that, but it's not going to be at any risk to the township.
any questions on the USD? I know. Okay. Sue?
I don't have a question about that, but I have a question about you didn't finish with the
Well,
vote.
we were getting back to that.
Oh, you didn't vote on the first.
Well, I wasn't ready.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
I bet I forgot. Okay, back to the committee. We did have a second. So anyway, we had a second, and so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to this committee? All right, it's passed. thanks for your patience. I'm still in the process of learning, so.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussions? I know carpet and painting and all that is supposed to start, what date is it again?
The 19th.
The 19th. So we have some dumpster coming here, be here for about a week, and that project will start. I don't know if we should talk about the colors that were picked, but that was somebody else, not me. So. But anyway, so no, that should be nice, right. I don't think there are.
I think he took the sample.
So they will be starting here this month, and we'll be getting that done. Any other updates we need to talk about?
One of the vendors that's quoting the doors will be here at the end of the week. Mr. Supervisor, if you're available Friday, certainly welcome your participation in that discussion.
We do need some new doors out here. They're not locking and hard to, so get a little facelift there, so. Any other updates that we need to inform people on? I think that's all going on.
Yeah, I guarantee it.
Okay, what?
I just have one comment. Is there any way, people on Chubb Road are getting a little fed up with the traffic that's coming off the new subdivisions along 10 Mile and Novi? There's a big construction development on the corner of Chubb Road and 10 Mile. It's solid subdivisions. They're taking shortcuts coming down Chubb Road. So I'm here, I guess, to talk to a lot of neighbors, to plead with the board to figure out what can be done to slow the traffic down, either speed limit signs, speed bumps. I know there's 4 stables on Chubb Road between 7 and 8, and I watched Lori and her friends on their horses just the other day had to jump on my neighbor's lawn because these cars are going 5, 6 deep. And yeah, they're yelling at you and say, yeah, it's 55, I understand it, but it's 50 on 7 Mile. So we're pleading with the board to come up with some kind of solution. Do we have to get a petition to approach Washington County, or do we have to come to the board and say, look, we're fed up with it, it's not rural anymore because of the subdivision and the traffic we're having. So I'm asking the board right now, what can we do?
Well, as far as the speed limit, I mean, you're welcome, I'll take you down there. You go down there and talk to the county and talk to the state, say it's regulated by the state, and there's, you know, we've done it. We've talked to them, I don't know what else there is to do on it, but they are not gonna change them speeds on them dirt roads.
Well, it's not rural anymore, Gary, it's residential.
Again,
You drive down Meadowbrook in Novi, and you can't go beyond 35 miles an hour, because they'll nail you. So that's what I'm saying. Can we put speed bumps in there, like 3 or 4 speed bumps between, and you're shaking your head, Dale, but I think it can be done, or.
Well, I say, you know, we don't own the roads. It's
I
not something we
understand
can
that.
say. We can suggest anything we have, and we have, talked to them, but it's,
Either talk to law enforcement, or get, you know.
I will, you know what, you come on down with me, I'll
Okay.
take you, and you can voice your opinion and hear what they have to say.
I'll get a petition going, we'll.
All right, that's fine, I would suggest to do that.
Yeah, we're tired of it, we really are. Thank you.
Okay. All right, now for public comment. Anybody else?
That was it.
Okay, if not, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Stay around, and have some